All right, so there's 3 different things I'm interested in starting for this league, and all 3 of them kind of have their own sales pitch. Okay, now the first one kind of speaks for itself. I thought the Wyvern looked awesome. I'm sure there's plenty of you that think the Dragon looks awesome. And this move, when I saw with the Flame Breath, looks really cool. It is actually an attack, and you're flying as a dragon shooting Flame Breath. And when I saw that, I thought, that movement speed looks really low, but like I've got to try this literally anyway. It attacks super fast at an 800% attack speed base, which to me seems kind of interesting. And the way this move actually works is you can channel it for 4 seconds. It does 750% ignite magnitude. So, obviously that's a portion of it as well. But you can go beyond the 4 seconds by expending 6 rage per second. However, if when you use the ability, you either power charge, you consume a power charge, not only are you going to get 50% bonus damage as lightning, but you're also going to make your rage get spent 50% slower. So now we're down to 3 rage per second. Now, if you didn't know, the base amount of rage that you can have capped without any modification is 30, meaning within the power charge, you get 10 extra seconds of this. But on the ascendancy here, the shaman ascendancy, if I really wanted to go full, like intended by GGG, cookie cutter template type of stuff, you would play the druid with a shapeshift form, and that's probably what I'll do just to see how their, intended build it actually ends up playing. And you'll see here, you have +7 max rage, and the smaller nodes leading up to like sort of your rage node here gives you another 4 and 4. So you get 15 additional. Now we're at 45 rage, 3 rage per second, 15 additional seconds. We're talking, 19 seconds worth of full-on channeling that Flame Breath. Now, whether or not this is going to be good for clear, that's going to be hard to decide, because as you look at this here, like it's pretty slow movement speed when you're actually using the Flame Breath. You can see there's quite a movement speed penalty of it, which makes me think perhaps it would be good on the Pathfinder. Now, the Pathfinder has cooked into one of the Ascendancy nodes a 50% reduction of the movement speed penalty. And actually, they changed the Pathfinder in this patch. Pathfinder can now start from both the Warrior or the Sorceress starting locations. So if you want, it is a fire tagged ability, and it's converted from 100% from physical to fire. So if you wanted to go with the Sorceress for the Elemental style, you could, but it is an attack, and you could start over there at the Warrior, which is right next to the Druid side of things, has a lot of attack-based nodes, and you could go that way with it as well if you wanted to try it with the Pathfinder. But more notably, the Pathfinder has additions that you can have for, instead of attributes, you can either take 5% just increased damage, just a flat stat there, or 5% increased global defenses. That's really the nutty one in my opinion, or you can have increased cost efficiency. But the global defenses, if you didn't know, counts armor, evasion, but also energy shield. So energy shield back on the menu, boys. You could basically stack just a bunch of attribute nodes after you take the ES ones, and you could have basically a shitload of energy shield, which rose into like another item we're going to talk about at the end of it. But there is an argument to be made, like, okay, maybe I'll take the reduced movement speed penalty so I can move faster with the Flame Breath, make it last a while, build energy shield as my defensive layer. Like, there's something kind of interesting there with it. I don't think that one's so straightforward, though. It's going to take a bit of cooking and figuring out. This is just kind of like first pass. But there is something that does seem a little bit more straightforward, which just seems like it's going to be good. And I would take a guess that Titan Bear might actually be really interesting. Now, the thing about the Bear, it is a melee. It's using slams. Now, that might sound a lot like maces, and the Titan actually is reworked slightly this league. The Titan now has a new Ascendancy node here, which grants every 3rd slam skill that does not create fissures, which you yourself are casting, cause 1 additional aftershock ahead into each side of the initial area. So we're getting, 1, 2, 3 bonus aftershock there. Now, just to give you some eyeballs on it, that's replacing this one here, Surprising Strength, the 50% more damage against heavy stun area. However, this is getting cut in half. 25% of this is going for free here on Crushing Impacts. Now, Titan also has Aftershock nodes, 25% chance for slam skills you use to cause Aftershocks, but more than likely, if you're going all the way here to take the new Aftershock node, you're probably not taking this because you're going to want to spend 4 points to get Hulking Form. This is the whole sort of lifeblood of the Titan, just having 50% more effective small passive nodes looks pretty good. Now, there is a change to this support gem also, which impact shockwaves cause Aftershock when they heavy stun an enemy, dealing the same damage to enemies within 1.5 meters. And that is that this is now actually properly working with the Aftershock tag. So the shockwave from this scales with Aftershock bonus damage and things to that effect. And you have to take this in order to get to the slam that we were talking about for the Aftershock bonus, and Crushing Blows makes it where when they're primed for stun, you're also going to be heavy stunning an enemy. That's when you see that little like circle over their head. Normally this isn't as important unless we're talking about using Bone Shatter, because the heavy priming for stun there you use with Bone Shatter, and people don't actually take this node because Bone Shatter has been such an important part of maces that taking this actually bricks Bone Shatter, so you can't hit people with that because when they're primed, they're automatically heavy stun. Therefore, you actually can't use Bone Shatter basically at all if you have this node. So it hasn't been in the conversation. But if we're going to be playing the bear here, then we kind of don't care as much because there's this move here, which looks really interesting, where you're kind of rampaging. And if you're priming for stun and then automatically triggering that heavy stun with impact shockwave, and it's creating that shockwave as well, you don't care about having to proc Bone Shatter because we're not playing maces here, so it's actually a useful node. Then this whole like walking calamity part looks really, really fun. This is like summoning meteors as you're walking around here as the bear, and these meteors are actually tagged crazy. They are tagged shapeshift, buff, bear, AoE, melee, trigger, fire, duration, conditional. We have a million different ways to scale this, and it's an attack. So okay, it's on the warrior side. All the warrior nodes would basically work with this just fine. We're obviously getting a ton of druid related nodes. So if you're actually starting as a titan and you're taking all those melee nodes, it works just fine with this. But then also this move right here, this is a slam, AoE slam melee shapeshift ability, okay? Now what this one actually does is it's just the very standard raise up and then slam the ground like you're seeing right there. Works with the volcanic fissure and all that. I'm not really so caring about the volcanic fissure for the sake of this conversation as much as just the slam with the actual continuation of like aftershocks going over and over and over again. And they added a new support gem, which actually helps with this concept here, which creates even more aftershocks. Support skills cause one additional aftershock ahead into each side of their initial area. It has some downsides of less AoE, less damage with aftershocks, and less attack speed, but we do kind of get almost like a spell cascade effect, which is very similar to what the Titan is getting for free, so we can stack these. There are other aftershock gems already in the game as well that just give you a straight up chance to create additional aftershocks. So it really boils down to a simple concept of having this bear. You got meteors going everywhere, and you're kind of just constantly slamming the ground and creating aftershock after aftershock after aftershock. And because you're playing Titan, you're getting 50% effectiveness of small passive nodes, and you have access to just like a lot of really good AoE and attack damage types of nodes, and you're pretty close right to where the Druid start literally is anyway, so it's nicely positioned. Overall, Titan Bear seems like that could be a pretty safe bet if you want to try the bear and you want to, shoehorn your Titan into it as well. I think this looks like a fun one. Now, if you want a for sure, very safe bet of a build, I would recommend Karn's Shield Wall Warrior. Now, Shield Wall Warrior is very simple. You create a shield wall, use a war cry to explode it, and that's basically the concept. Now, in mapping, you have these additional support gems, one of which is on Citadel. It makes the actual shield wall go out like a fissure instead. And then if you're going to pair this with your upheaval gem, creates multiple fissures, and now you have even bigger AoE in which you can explode. Now, the downside of this was on Citadel here previously, as well as upheaval, these actually have downsides of less AoE and less damage with hits. But in the patch notes, on Citadel actually no longer has the downside at all. No less area of effect, or no supported gems deal 30% less damage. This is just basically a straight buff to the clear of this build. Now, they're probably doing some rebalancing due to the new way they're doing the density, which is like now things have more effectiveness. So mobs in and of themselves are less density, but tankier. And they're also making the lineage gems less common. So I think some of these are like balancing mechanics, trying to make sure it doesn't just shit on a lot of the builds. Shield Wall would have taken a hit because of this in terms of clear, but it's looking pretty good at the moment. So these are the three that are currently actively in my head. I think I'm going to start the Wyvern, and maybe it's bad, maybe it'll be bait, maybe the movement speed will be too slow and unplayable, but I'm going to do the standard Druid start with the Wyvern to see sort of the intended gameplay, so I can kind of give my take on what I actually feel about that, as well as the build I'm able to cook up, etc. After that, I'll probably do the Bear Titan, and then following that, I might try something new entirely. Maybe the Wolf. I'm not that interested about the Wolf, to be honest. I don't know why. I never really was super into like wolf shit and the woo and like all the, I don't know. I never cared about that stuff that much. Seems like too werewolf, vampire, Twilight type of stuff for me. But maybe you're into it. So if you want to see the dragon, that's what I'm going to start. That's my thoughts on it anyway. And I'll be going live now, trying to figure out the actual build and what we're going to be doing and kind of practicing some starter and all that. So that's about it. The next video that's going out is going to be the list of starters in 0.3 that I have played that I know are good, that I think are going to be good in 0.4 as well, or dodge nerfs and things like that. That's about it. See you in the next video.